Hi, I made a thing.
Hello, welcome to part 8 of me building a 3D printer. We're going to get right into it here. We left off with the filament check, the alignment check on the extruder, which is step 35 on the E-axis assembly. I have gone in and made a couple of adjustments off camera, things that I did wrong. So one of the things was, you may have noticed in earlier videos that the cap right here that screws down over the screw post was not in place originally. I skipped that and went back and fixed it. And then also I noticed that the hot end, the extruder, the tip, this whole bit was like slightly rotated in the assembly. I actually don't know if it would have made a difference, but I went in and sort of took this thing back apart, fixed this, and put it back together. So we're in the same spot where we left off. So that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna pick up right now on step 36, which is the extruder idler mounting. So the extruder idler is one of the last pieces that we put together in the last video. And it says place the extruder idler in place and secure it using M340. So if I remember my screws correctly, M340 is the big long one here. So what we're seeing in the in the book, in the image, is let's see. So let's figure this out. So the fan side looks like it's facing down. Okay, I got it. All right, so we're gonna take it fan side down. All right. Now what we have is, let's see here. Yes, this is all correct so far, the way that it's aligned. So now we want to take this piece, and it's going to go up against and mate with the piece on the inside to feed the filament. So basically this is going to go right here. So what you're going to notice on this is the M340 is threaded at the bottom and then it's smooth at the top. So when we put this into basically here, it goes into a hole in the side and goes right through. So what you're going to see is that the idler right now can just come off, right? But once we get this screw inside, okay, so what you're going to notice now, this screws all the way in, and this can now rotate and open up. So that's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be able to rotate about that axis right there. So the next step then is the FS, so that's the filament sensor. So FS cover parts preparation. So we need the FS cover and an M310. We've got so many M310s laying around, that's no problem. The FS cover, now I know that on the videos it's hard to tell. I actually have not been down here building this for several days, probably at least a week. I was editing other videos and putting those out. So I'm kind of trying to get my bearings back here at the work table. I need to find the piece that I'm looking for, which is the filament sensor cover. So this is a piece that will go right over the actual filament sensor chip. So we found the sensor cover. So now we're gonna take this and this. So again, I know that you can't see a whole lot here, but there is a cutout that's like exactly the same size as the sensor chip right here. And there's also two holes that line up with these two holes. So you put it on and then you screw it in with a 10 screw, but make sure that you are putting the screw, move over here, the screw into the hole for the screw and not into the filament inlet. This piece can still rotate, which I believe it is supposed to. This is in, everything's good. Okay. So we have now passed step 37, and we are going to move down to, well actually 37 was just the prep, 38 was the assembly, which is what we just did. So now we're going to move on to step 39, pre-tensioning the extruder idler. Using the M340 screw with the spring. Okay, so that's this thing. Remember we set this up. It feels like 2 or 3 videos ago now, but here it is. To introduce tension to the extruder idler. Hold the extruder idler on the other side until the screw reaches the nut. Okay, so looking at the picture, we are holding the unit like this. Okay, there's a hole right here. There's actually 2 holes. You see this hole and then you see this hole. And the tension screw is going to go in right here. There's a hole that goes down through there. So we will put this in. We will grab the proper Allen key. And it says, hold the extruder idler on the other side until the screw reaches the nut. Since there's only 1 screw, you need to introduce a large force. The head of the screw should be roughly aligned with the surface. Okay. So what okay. So by the way, it's saying to connect this to the nut, right? You've heard me read that in the directions a couple times. So the nut on the other side is the nut on this door. So this flippy door has this nut right here, and we're going to push this all the way through to there. Okay. Okay, that's done. This is roughly flush, and it is coming up through the other side here. It's actually not even, I'm gonna back this out a tiny bit so that it's flush on the back side and the screw's not sticking out at all. Cool, perfect. That is step 39. So step 40 is going to be preparing the print fan support and parts. So print fan support is, I just saw that. This little guy right here, I believe, is the print fan support. We're going to need the M310. And I'm actually going to check this right now because I want to make sure, yeah, it's been a while. So we got this M310, we have a regular hexagonal, and that's it. Okay. Take the M3 nut and insert it all the way into the support. It is crucial. It's in bold. It says it is crucial. So we will take this piece with it like this, and this nut will go into this hole right there. And apparently, it is crucial. So let's grab this with our needle nose. That actually goes like right in. It doesn't need to be squished at all. So place the support on the extruder and ensure the inclined part is facing down. I'm afraid this nut's gonna fall out, but all right, so this piece goes, there's a hole on the extruder right here, plastic, I believe we're lining it up. Not the nut hole, but the other hole, with it facing this way, like this. This is there. My nut fell out while we were doing that step, but because it was so easy to put in, I figured I would just do it at the end here. All right, fan shroud parts preparation. Okay, important. Similar to previous steps, there are 2 different types of hot end fans. For this step, they may differ in the screw's length. I believe we were version B, if I remember correctly. The fan cable bundle is not covered. That's how you know. Yeah. So we have version B because this fan cable bundle is not shrouded. We need the fan shroud, M3NS nut, which is one of my little square nuts. We need M322, M322B. Cheat sheet. M322B is a flat flush mount screw, and it is this size. So this is my screw. Insert the M3 square nut into the fan shroud. So there's a slot, let's flip this around so now it looks like what I'm looking at. Okay, slot right here for the nut to go in, the square nut, and let's see how easily this goes in today. Oh, I see what we're doing here. This one's a little bit odd, but it just takes a second to realize what's happening. All right, we got that piece in. That was a little bit tricky. I would just take your time on that piece. It doesn't really slide in very intuitively. See the protrusion on the fan shroud and the groove in the extruder. Okay, so the protrusion on the fan shroud is referring to this thing. And here is an extrusion on the fan shroud. And the groove in the extruder. So the groove in the extruder is, there's a groove or a cutout right here in the extruder that happens to be very much the same shape as this. Slide the fan shroud into the extruder. Make sure that both protrusions on the fan shroud fit the grooves of the extruder. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that we're literally... All right, so that does go in. I would recommend, again, a lot of caution here, because this little extrusion that they keep talking about on the shroud, I mean, it's only connected by a tiny little spot. So like if you know, were to let this bend too much, it could snap that right off. We don't want that. This piece on the other end does not stick into place like this one does, but I think because the screw is missing. As soon as we screw through this fourth fan hole and through there, that'll hold that in place. Secure it using the M322B screw. Exactly what I thought. So this is going to go right through this fourth fan hole on the other fan that we did not screw in previously. Print fan parts prep. All right, we need the fan M320s, 2 of them, which I think is this right here. Let's double check. M320, that's too small. That's an M320. And that's an M320. And then one regular old hexagonal nut. So there's our pieces for this particular step. Let me get rid of some of this other stuff out of the way. Okay. Slide the fan in the fan shroud and make sure it is properly aligned. Okay, so the fan shroud is here. The fan is here. It comes in from this side. Oh, okay. So this goes in, it literally just slides right into this area and lines up with this screw hole up here, and that's it. I mean, I don't think this actually locks down here into the bottom anywhere. I think it just lines up, and then the screw will attempt to hold it in place. Fix the fan in place using one M320. Okay. So now we have that step done. The print fan is on. All right, what's next? Guide the cable according to the picture in the channel. Oh, the fan cable. All right, okay. So from here, if you've got the fan like this, all right, the channel is this channel right here. So basically this just goes straight across, right past the hot end over there, and then through here. Okay. Super Pinda sensor part preparation. I don't know what a Super Pinda is, but cool. Super Pinda sensor 1X. This is step 46. Oh, here it is. Okay. This is the Super Spinda sensor. Insert Super Spinda sensor in the holder. Exact position doesn't matter. Okay. So on the bottom of the assembly here is this hole that has a nut hole. Anyway, this is where you put this thing. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Super Spinda holder. Doesn't matter. The position, we'll adjust it later. Tighten the M310, but just slightly. Okay, I tightened it only slightly. Create a loop on the cable from the sensor. So this needs to go this way. But in order to do that, it needs to go sort of under itself a little bit. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. It makes it easier, I think, to pull that loop through into the channel. Insert zip ties into the X carriage. Zip ties. We're on step 49 of the axis right now. So you're following along. So this step is 2 zip ties. And what it's telling me to do, insert zip ties into the X carriage, like the picture. Okay, let's just figure out how this is facing. So in this picture, it is like, so I'm using these little things right here to determine that I'm holding it the same way that the picture is. So it's got a, okay. I was confused by this, not gonna lie, but it's actually very, it's because I was making it harder than it was. So there's a slot right here. These two on top, you see, and then there's a slot, where did it go? Down here. And you push the zip tie through this bottom slot and it just goes inside the piece, curves itself around and spits back out the top. And that's all you're doing. So we'll do that together right here on camera. See, boom, done, see? Lower the X-axis about 1/3 from the top. That's about 1/3, right? Turn the printer like the picture with the X-axis motor in shorter extrusions facing you. So it wants me to make the machine with its back to me. Align the bearings similarly to the picture. Okay, so those marker lines that we put on these bearings earlier are coming back into play now. Here's what I'm gonna try to do. It tells me to face this towards me, but obviously, you know, can't see what I'm doing if I do that completely. So I'm gonna try to turn it like this and hope that this helps. So these marks are supposed to face forward. I mean backwards, but forwards towards the camera in this shot.
Well, hello there. This is Future Michael cutting in to say that, first of all, I thought I was doing a really good thing by tilting this towards the camera for once, etc. But then I realized the front camera had shut itself down again. So it does come back in just a few minutes. I'm sorry. I'm putting up as many pictures as I can to kind of help compensate. But yeah, hashtag not a YouTuber.
Sort of in the middle here, and then this one also faces this way, like that. Turn all 3 bearings so the markings face the back. Place the extruder onto the bearings from the other side. So from the front. Make sure the bearing openings in the X carriage are facing towards you. Okay, so there's 2 holes here, basically, or slots, one here, one here. These are gonna be what connects to these bearings. So let's do that now. So we're just gonna make sure that these are correct, and then we're going to go ahead and try to tighten this down one-handedly while we hold the motor. I'm not gonna tighten it down all the way yet because I want to make sure that I have this relatively even. There it is. Okay, so it says tighten and cut. Okay, look at that. We are one step closer, you guys. It says that we'll adjust the lower bearing later on. Place the cables on the Super Penda sensor. Oh yeah, there's a lot of cables here now, right? Place the cables on the Super Penda sensor side over the lower smooth rod and push them back into the channel. So first of all, here's the cables from the Super Spinda sensor. We got that. It wants those things to, basically it just wants these things to hang over the side like this. Same thing on this side. So there you go. That's essentially what it's asking for in this step. All these cables are hanging over the front like that. Align the bearing so that it fits nicely in the X carriage. Well, it already does. Oh, Look at that. There was another click. Okay, cool. So this is like definitely feels good. Feels good. We need the X belt, which is this guy right here. I didn't like the belt on the last one. Insert the flat part of the X-axis belt into the X carriage as pictured. Okay. So we're gonna start over here. Okay. That step is complete. I believe that looks pretty good. Like the picture. Okay. Guide the X-axis belt through the X-end idler. Okay. So basically, we're taking this. The idler is on this side, if you remember. Oh, yeah. Okay. The idler's right here, so we're gonna feed this through this orange piece back here. That's what we're talking about, and then back around the idler wheel and back through like this. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, I believe. Yeah. So the motor's on this side. So we will take this and go through here. So I know that the camera, can't see inside the plastic to show you what I'm doing, but I can tell you that this is one of the more straightforward steps that I've seen so far. I don't think this is gonna throw anybody off when they get to it. So now I pulled this around the, oh, look at that, I got tangled up. Let's pull this around the motor again, just to make sure that I'm not getting myself twisted here. So you go around the motor. Well, the motor's, this wheel's coming off. Is it supposed to be tighter than that? Probably not, because we're gonna tighten it after this. So you bring it back. You see how we've done all the way around. And then this piece, before you continue to guide the belt motor through the X-axis, release two M3 screws on the X end, right here. Until they detach from the motor, it must be possible to move the motor freely to the sides. So I think this is just saying this is a temporary step that has to be done during the assembly, and then we'll put these back on. So there's 3 screws holding this motor on. It's like on the corners, here, here, and here on the back side. We're gonna remove these 2 and just leave the one so that it can, I guess, pivot in place. Move. Rotate the X-axis motor as indicated toward the frame. Okay, I see what's happening here. So it wants us to rotate it this way into the frame, which will, once the belt is tensioned and we pull this back, it will put more tension, or proper tension, on it. Insert the flat part of the belt into the X carriage as shown. And then it does say that there will be more belt, it'll be longer, and not to trim it yet. So basically what we're gonna try to do now is just push this into here. There are little teeth grooves inside this plastic that match the teeth on the belt. So if you have it lined up right, it will go in somewhat easily. I mean, you'll know that you're not doing it wrong, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, because it will make sense. Let's use this Allen key and try to push this in further. Okay. Using right hand, rotate the motor to its original position and hold it. Yep, tension to the belt. Perfect. It doesn't say to put a screw in. Okay, I'm not actually putting a screw back in yet. What I'm doing is putting this in to ensure that I've got this lined up correctly so I don't waste time and effort. Okay. Now, one thing that I noticed was that this gear on the back of this motor that the belt attaches to is still loose, like it can slide in and out from the motor. There is a lock screw, I mean, that's probably not the right word, but there's a thing I can tighten. I assume that's gonna come up in another couple of steps because it's probably to align the belt perfectly. But if it doesn't come up, I'm gonna have to just sort of tighten that myself and hope that it's the right thing to do. Let's see here, tightening it. Yep, that's it. That is step 55. Aligning, yeah, that's the next step, what I was just talking about. So top and bottom should be parallel to one another. Release the screws on the pulley and move it slightly. Tighten both screws. Yeah, okay. So I don't think I need to really make any adjustments here. Looks exactly like it's supposed to. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten the little screw here. I did misplace a super tiny Allen key at some point, but the one I need is here. Step 57 is testing the X-axis belt. Use the technique described below to see if you have the proper amount of tension. Use pliers to hold the X-axis motor shaft. So, pliers. Move the extruder towards the X-axis motor. If the belt is stretched properly, you should feel a resistance and the extruder won't move at all. Yep. Perfect! Step 58, trimming the belt. So now we're gonna cut this and put it back in there. Okay. I think I can get that in there now. 59, fine tuning the X-axis belt. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that step. Step 60, nylon guide parts preparation. There it is. The black nylon filament, using the pliers, cut one end of the filament to create a tip. Okay, so it's like a 45-degree cut to give it a point. Never been good at this, but we'll try. That did not work at all. Let's see if that's good enough. Let's see if it causes a problem. I mean, it tells you to check that the tip is similar to the third picture. The third picture in this manual literally looks like a hypodermic needle. Like it was cut by a machine. There's no way that me as a regular human am gonna get that level of cut. So, locate the hole for the nylon filament just above the bottom bearing. There's a hole right above the bottom bearing. Okay. Insert the nylon filament with the pointed end into the slot. Twist the filament while pushing it in. Hold the extruder with your other hand. Be extremely careful as the pliers tend to oh wait, I'm supposed to use pliers. You can easily damage the wires. How far in are you supposed to push this? Like I don't get what's happening here, but I'm gonna try it anyway. It doesn't tell you like how far in this is supposed to go or like anything. So like I feel like this instruction is lacking because I don't know. Did I push it in far enough? Who knows? Who knows? Nobody knows. I have no idea if that's in right or not. I don't even know what the point of this is. Locate the hole in the nylon filament. Step 62, X carriage back parts preparation. So we're gonna need the X carriage back. The cable holder is this. M340 screw is here. M3N nut is just a regular, there you go. So the cable holder is here. The M340 goes through it, I guess. Oh, and it says I'm glad I read that. So one side of this has a hole that's like, so you can recess the head of the screw and the other side does not. So that is the side you want to enter from. Drive the screw all the way through the printed part. Okay. 64, X carriage back assembly. The M3N nut into this hole right here. There's a spot for it, and you're gonna put that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a screw and just pull it through because I think I need to do that to make this work. Rotate the X carriage back and tighten it together with the cable holder. Okay, so this way. Check the U-shaped slot is properly aligned on both parts. It is. You can see that, but it is. 65, mounting the X carriage back. Push the cables from the extruder through the X carriage back. Okay. Like that. Cables from the hot end are not going through the X carriage back. Oh, okay, so these. Good. Carefully insert nylon filament. And then, okay, so through here, just like these cables is what I think I'm seeing. Okay. X carriage back assembly, step 66. We need 4 of the 10 screws, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Before you tighten the X carriage back, arrange all the cables, make sure none is pinched. Use all 4 screws to tighten the X carriage back. Tighten the screws with reasonable force. Make sure you don't deform or squeeze the bearings between the printed parts. Okay, so 4 screw holes on this. They are 1, 2, 3, and pull all of these cables together into this channel. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's coming together, isn't it? I'm going to tighten it. Oh, actually, I'm not going to tighten it just yet. Let's do all of these. Then tighten them. And I'm just going to kind of torque everything just a bit to make sure that everything is sort of the correct amount of tight. Meaning I am making some effort to not over tighten, but also to tighten enough that we weren't going to have any problems with the stuff coming apart. We are good. We are good. We are good. So now we're going to need the 5 zip ties, textile sleeve, 13 by 490. I think that's the big one, the fatty. There's 2 little ones that are the same, and then there's this big daddy here. So, pretty sure this is the big one for the main. Open one end of the sleeve and slide it onto the cable bunding, leading away from the extruder. Don't forget the nylon filament. Okay, yeah, that's fine. 3 zip ties through the zip tie slots. And then we tighten the zip ties around that. Okay. Okay. Cool. That is good to go. Do we clip it? Okay. Step 69, guiding the hot end thermistor cables. Make sure the hot end thermistor cables. Let's get rid of this rubber band so we can see what we're dealing with. Okay, so we've got 2 tiny little cables and 2 slightly thicker cables coming out here. The thermistor cables, the thinner pair, so that's these, are going above the heater cables. Okay, so I mean, sure. Use 2 zip ties and push them through the upper slots on the cable holder. Oh, cool. Okay. Wondering what we were going to do with those. Make sure these go on top and they go like this. Before tightening the zip ties, add the cables from the hot end. Use the channel in the printed part to arrange them. Alright, so let's just do this for a quick sec. I don't normally flip it all the way like this, but let's do it. What we're talking about here is this area right here. There's a little plastic trough under here that will, these cables will lay in, and then we're going to zip tie. Okay, so this is where we got right now. Let's see, now I'm supposed to... Alright, so yeah, now we're just going to put these cables up underneath into the shroud with everything else. This is fun. Okay. Here we go. Step 71. Haribo time. Hats off. This was the toughest chapter in the history of original Prusa i3 printers. Have 20% of the bears and rest for a while. So 20% of the bears is, I'll give it 3 bears. So, obviously this is a stopping point for us, and we'll pick back up with the LCD assembly, which is going to be the next video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bears. We'll get into the LCD assembly. You'll get to hear me talk and eat. It should be fun. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining me. We have finished the extruder and the E-axis. We will pick up with this LCD assembly, and cool, that's it, man. That's video 8. Flying by. Video 9 coming up as soon as I can get it out. Thank you for watching. If you find it, entertaining or useful, maybe give it a like. Let me know what else you'd like to see. I mean, like, honestly, I got ideas, but I don't really know, they're worth doing. So, if you're interested in seeing anything about this printer or anything else, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me. See you next time.
Hi, I made a thing.